Nick Kyrgios is preparing for the US Open in the best possible way. His post-Wimbledon run has been crazy good and also ended his 3-year title drought. It came after Kyrgios defeated Yoshihito Nishioka in straight sets to win the title in Washington. We'll be taking a look at his performances from the week in Washington and how he's getting in shape for the US Open, starting with the final. The thing about Nick Kyrgios is that if he works as hard as the rest of the players on tour, he'd have at least a dozen more titles to his name. But that's probably what makes him so great, because he's so nonchalant, likes to do everything very differently, and still can defeat the very best players whenever he's feeling. To get him up and running, though, it's a totally different story, and that's part of the reason why the Australian was without a title win at the last 3 years. Following an impressive Wimbledon campaign, Kyrgios found himself in the final of the Citi Open in Washington. Yoshihito Nishioka, the talented Japanese star, had managed to get to the finals after defeating some big names on the way, including the names of Dan Evans, Alex de Minaur, and the Russian duo of Andrei Rublev and Karen Khachanov. He may not have been the favorite for the final, but Kyrgios knew that he couldn't take this match lightly, especially since he's played with Nishioka since before they made it to the tour, and that's primarily why Kyrgios produced such a stunning display in the final. In a very unlike Kyrgios way, the Australian started off dominantly, and without losing serve managed to wrap up the first set 6-4. It was even more impressive when you consider that Kyrgios struggled with his first serve throughout the match, getting only 50% in, and it was his second serve that got him through the challenge. The second set was more of the same from Kyrgios, and without losing serve, he comfortably won his first title in 3 years. Moving on to Kyrgios' reaction, after an impressive performance in the final, Kyrgios stole the show in the courtside interview. It was his second title in Washington and the 7th of his career, as Kyrgios revealed that his was an emotional moment for the 27-year-old to be back in the capital and be winning the title again. Losing in the Wimbledon final can be extremely hard to take, but credit to Kyrgios for using that run as motivation to go all the way to the Citi Open. The Australian elaborated on how he underwent an incredible transformation as he compared himself to last year, and added how emotional it was to see where he's only 1 year on. It's been a tough year or so for the talented Aussie, who mentioned that he'd been in some really dark places. We're glad he's feeling better and didn't let the bad times get to him. Not one for humbleness, Kyrgios also mentioned that how many people had helped him to get out of that mindset, but he praised himself for the serious strength to get through all and perform and win tournaments like this one. He's not wrong after all. Winning an ATP title is an enormous achievement, and winning one after going through such a tough time is genuinely impressive. The big server from down under reflected on the match, saying that he had a lot of energy when he came out to play, and with the help of experience on his side, he comfortably ended up winning the final. Up next, Nick's fantastic Citi Open run. It wasn't just the final where Kyrgios showed up with so much promise. In fact, throughout the week, he was on a totally different level. He only dropped a single set in the 6 games that he played, and that came against Francis Tiafoe in the quarters before Nick got back in form and played out a blinder of a tiebreaker in the second. Even more impressive though was his serving throughout the tournaments, as he didn't drop his serve in any match, even though he played some decent returners. Plus, he didn't have it easy either. Coming up against 4 Americans in a row in Washington can't be easy for someone like Nick. It was a piece of cake. His tournament opener was against Marcos Giron, and he made light work of him, dropping only the 5 games in a straight set win. Following that dominant win, he played an exceptional match to beat Tommy Paul in straight sets and set up a round of 16 clash against big server Riley Opelka. This was slightly tougher for Kyrgios, as he had to dig in deep to force the tiebreaker in the first set before going on to break Opelka twice in the second to wrap it up. But as mentioned before, his biggest test was the match against Tiafoe in the quarters, where Big Foe gave him a run for his money and came awfully close to winning the match, but Kyrgios didn't panic and got through in 3. In the semis, he faced the Swedish talent Mikael Yamar, who forced a tiebreaker in their first, but couldn't do much to stop Kyrgios from getting to the finals. And Kyrgios' double title win in Washington. Kyrgios' impressive run in Washington wasn't limited to his single success. In fact, he teamed up with Jack Sock in the doubles, and they went on a crazy run, winning the doubles crown as well. This came after Kyrgios and his fellow Aussie partner in crime, Thanisi Kokkinakis, defeated the American duo of Jack Sock and Rajiv Ram in Atlanta in the finals, so it seems that Kyrgios might just be the lucky charm. Their most impressive performance came in tournament opener when they defeated the 3rd seed of Jean-Julien Rojer and Marcelo Arevalo in straight sets, and then went on to beat the French duo of Mahut and Roger Vassilin in a thrilling encounter. There was some luck involved too, as a fellow US-Australian pairing of Tiafoe and De Minaur decided not to play the semifinal, and Kyrgios, relatively fresh, managed to win the singles title in Washington. Meanwhile, he still had enough energy considering he didn't have too much to do in the final, so doubles final was another superb battle. Ivan Dodig and Austin Krajicek were looking really solid, but dropped serve at a crucial point as Kyrgios and Sok wrapped up the first set. With victory in sight, the eventual champions wouldn't drop their serve and broke the opposition to win another crown in Washington. Kyrgios will be hoping for more of the same when the US Open kicks off later this week. In other news, first up, Nick facing legal action over Wimbledon comments. For a tennis player, Kyrgios spends a little too much time on the court. Oh, and we're not talking about the tennis court, although that would be a little nicer as he could genuinely translate his potential into something better. We're talking about potential legal proceedings here. During his Wimbledon final defeat, Kyrgios, like usual, had one of his meltdowns where he accused a spectator of having about 700 drinks. It may have seemed a harmless development at the time, but she is suing Kyrgios for defamation against her. The spectator in question, Anna Paulus, wants to clear her name by saying that Kyrgios' comments were reckless and entirely baseless. This is so bizarre, honestly. What happened to letting things go? The world's gone too soft, hasn't it? Next, Kyrgios picks his US Open favorites. While the Australian will be a massive threat in Flushing Meadows, he was asked about who he thinks could win the title, and his answer was quite surprising. Any guesses before we reveal who he picked? Yeah, we didn't think you'd get it either. Most people think that Nadal should be able to have his Grand Slam tally. Kyrgios is among the minority that believes we'll have a new Grand Slam champion, and he's gone for the Spanish sensation, Carlos Alcaraz. The Spaniards had a breakthrough year, but struggled to replicate that form during the Slam, and that's why this pick from Nick, wow, that rhymed, is a little too ambitious. Of course, it's hardly surprising to see him not go with Daniil Medvedev or Stefanos Tsitsipas, considering he defeated the Russian quite comfortably in recent weeks, and his beef with Steph is quite well documented. Lastly, Kyrgios to face court in October. No, it's not for the Anna Paulus incident, rather it is something way more serious. Kyrgios' ex-girlfriend accused him of alleged assault charges, and he was set to appear for the initial hearing, but didn't turn up. The details of the charge haven't been revealed yet, but we do know the Australian superstar will be facing the court on the 4th of October after Canberra magistrate rejected his appeal for a months-long delay. If Kyrgios is found guilty, it's so important for the ATP to take strict action as an authority and ban him for a few months at least. Their recent responses against domestic abuse and assault have been poor, and we hope that changes this time around. Well, that's a wrap for this video. What did you make of Kyrgios' performance in Washington? Do you think he has it in him to surprise the tennis community in Flushing Meadows? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.